Hello and welcome to this video, the Fool's Guide to Modding Into the Radius 2. I'm going to show you how to download the tools you need, how to set them up, how to extract the game files so you can edit them and do whatever you want with them, and then I'm going to show you how to put them back into the game in the form of a mod. And then we're going to test it out. I put download links in the description for all the tools you need, so just follow along. The first one you're going to get is FModel. You just go in here, download now, or up here in the corner, doesn't matter. You download that, and then you're gonna get an FModel exe inside the FModel zip file. I recommend you put it into its own folder because it's gonna make a few different folders and you're gonna get a lot of files inside of those. So it's very nice to keep them in the same spot so you know where to dig around for it. So you just put that in there and everything's golden. Then before the next step, I really highly recommend that you make a folder called mapping files or something like that, so you know where to put the mapping files. For some games, FModel needs a mapping file to instruct it how to find the different files. If you don't have it, for some games that is, then it just doesn't work. So you go into the next link, and I've set up Google Drive with the mapping file, which is one I got from the Into the Radius Discord. Nice dude made it in there, but it's a bit of a hassle to find it, so I figured might as well make it as easy as possible. So here it is for you. You just download it, and once you've gotten it, put it inside your mapping files, open up FModel, and this might happen the first time you run it. The program is completely legit. There's no virus, there's no malware, there's nothing to be afraid of. Your view is gonna be this one, this box. FModel is pretty bad at detecting new games. I mean, I don't even have these two. I think there's a file for it programmed into the FModel or something, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, you press these arrows here, and then you locate your Into the Radius folder. You go deeper in and then select content. So you have the Steam apps common Into the Radius 2, Into the Radius 2, content, select folder. Then you give the detected game a name. I already have an Into the Radius 2, so I'm just gonna write ITR test. Then do not click OK. The OK is linked to this selection up here. So if you click OK, it's gonna try to open most likely Fortnite or some shit. So instead you're gonna press on this plus here, which puts it up here in the detected game. So you press this one, and again, I've set it up so it's already there, but on yours it's probably gonna be different. You need to go into the UE versions and select game UE 5_3. That's Unreal Engine version 5.3. That is very important, otherwise it won't work. That is the engine version that Into the Radius 2 uses, and if you try to use any of the other ones, you can't access the files. Then you have to go into the settings and go down here to advanced. Now this is gonna be off by default, so the local mapping file, you enable that, and then this one is gonna pop up, mapping file path, which you're gonna point to the mapping file you just downloaded. You select that, press open, and everything's in order. Yes, you press OK. Then you're gonna see this one, mappings pulled from ITR blah blah blah. That means it's using the mapping file we just put into it. So now it works. You're gonna have most likely these files right here. All the other ones are inside the pack folder in the mods folder. All these are my mods, well, at least a tiny bit of them. So you can safely ignore the pack chunk files. Those are the ones you're gonna work with. It looks a bit intimidating to begin with, but it's really not that hard. You can ignore all the pack files because there's nothing in them for you to mod. You cannot do anything with them. So what you're going to work with are the UTOC files. It's pretty easy to navigate them once you get the hang of it. I want to show you an example of something. It really trips a lot of people up. What you need to know is to pay attention to the small number on the folder. If there's a number on it, it means there's files in here. There's 4 files here, there's 8 here, there's 5 here, blah blah blah. So if you want to see what's in here, you can just highlight this and then click on packages here. Then you can see those files, and we have the model file right here, which is pretty nice. And that's another thing to know. If let's take this one instead. You get a weird box. That's a material instance that FModel for some reason shows as a box. You cannot export this as a model. You cannot use it for anything really. If you want to export the model, double clicking it and getting a preview view of the 3D model confirms that you're in the right place. So we can see this is a very nice 3D model. It works and everything. It looks very pretty. So you can right click that and select save model. Then it's gonna load for a bit and it is gonna say successfully saved blah 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 blah. So if you also want the textures for it, now you only have the skeletal mesh for it. If you also want the textures for it, sometimes FModel is smart enough to also export the textures, but it doesn't always do that. So it's always good to check if the textures are with it. Otherwise you can find the textures and then double click them like the model and you get a small preview view here, and we can see that's a very nice 2D texture, so it works. Let's look at the normal map, and that works fine as well. Cool. So we can right click that, select save texture, and successfully saved. You can do that with pretty much everything. You cannot edit the data itself, but it's only a matter of time until it's going to be possible. Of that I have no doubt. Anyway, the last thing I want to show you in here is the sound files, because they work a little bit different than the other ones. I know they're on S6 because I've messed around with them a lot. This is a very good example of some of the exciting stuff you can find in here. A jellyfish, spiker, spitter. We have exciting stuff coming. I've no doubt about that. I'm gonna go into the mimic because they are so damn awful. But maybe I think one of them is cool and I want a new ringtone. That's creepy. I want to export this for whatever reason. Then you can right click it here and press save. It's going to open a prompt and you can choose where to save it. Unlike models and the textures, you cannot right click it here and select save. You need to open it first before you can save it. So that's pretty much the only difference there is. This is my main modding folder. I have a few other modding tools I use primarily for Into the Radius 1, but just ignore that. You're gonna have the mapping files you created yourself, and you're gonna have the output folder. So you go into the output folder, exports. Going to have only 2 folders in here, most likely, depending on what you exported. You're gonna have the game folder if you exported any models, and if it exports the textures with the models, they're usually also in here. So I go into game, ITR2, art, items. So I follow the exact path as inside of FModel. And then we can see we have the model file here, which I can open it in Blender or whatever else 3D program you might be using. The JSON files, you can pretty much ignore them. We cannot use them for anything yet. So just leave them be or look around in them if you want to. Doesn't really matter. They don't really do anything. So we have the model here, and it also exported the textures with this model. It doesn't always do that. So if you exported the textures manually, then you have to go into the Radius 2 in your exports folder. You go in here, content, ITR2, art, items, and we have the flashlight 2, textures. Yeah, you see, this is the texture that you just saw me export myself. So if it doesn't do it with the models, this is where you can find them. Now you know where to find it, and the sound files, well, you selected where you saved them, so you know where they are. Welcome back. So we edited this. We also installed Epic Games Launcher in the meantime, because why not? If you have a user, you just log in. If you don't, you just sign up. It's completely free, so there's nothing to it. Once you've signed up, everything's clear. You're in this, you go into the library. Your view is going to look a bit different. You don't have the Unreal Engine installed, and you probably won't have any mod files either. So you can safely ignore pretty much all of this. When you first start up, you're going to press the plus button here that opens up one of these. Then go into this one and you select 5.3. I can't because it's already installed, but for you it's going to be different. So you select 5.3 and you press install. This is going to take some time because it's a pretty big program, so just let it do its thing. And it might have to install some prerequisites, and just let it. Once it's done, you can press launch. Again, your view might be a bit different because I have a lot of mods here. So you select a blank project. You're gonna deselect starter content. I removed mine from the engine, so that's why it's not even an option for me, but it's on by default. So you deselect this, then you select where you want your new mod to go, then you give it a name. I am gonna call it the Fancy Injector because it's gonna be fancy. Press create. And then we're here. Your view is probably gonna look like something like this. This is the viewport for when you're doing editor stuff or engine stuff. If you create a game or make a movie or whatever. We're not gonna use that, so that's why I'm gonna let's start with the absolute essentials. First off, you need a label. To make that, you right click, select miscellaneous, data asset. Then you pick the primary asset label, press select. You're gonna get one of these. You're gonna call it label underscore and then your mod name. So once you've done that, double click it, you get this screen up. Now first you put the priority to 1. That tells the engine to actually use it. The chunk ID is, I have no idea. It needs to be a number between 1000 and 5000 if I'm not mistaken. And even if you make several different mods, they don't need to have different numbers. They can have the same number. I've made, I don't know how many mods, it's a lot. And I've used the same number with all of them and they work just fine. So we're gonna call that 4666 because that's badass. Then I'm gonna click apply recursively. Under cook rule, I am going to choose always cook. These steps are important, otherwise it's not gonna work. I also use label assets in my directory because then, as far as I know, Unreal Engine takes care of the rest. I don't have to do anything. Small caveat here. There are some dudes who say that you shouldn't do it like this because you can risk it messing something up if you go into the mod later on and edit stuff. I never experienced it, and I find this is by far the easiest way to do it, so that's why I'm doing it. But now you know. So once you've done that, you go on up here to platforms, you select packaging settings, And then you need to make sure that use pack file, use IO store are both checked, and then you need to check the generate chunks, and that's it. Last thing before you are completely ready is to go into platforms, Windows, and then select shipping. I don't know why, but everyone who's ever written a guide or know anything about Unreal Engine say you need to go and select shipping. They all recommend it, so I'm pretty sure there's a good reason for it. So now we're ready to actually do something. Unreal Engine is set up, everything's peachy. So how do you do this? You see, I have my nice new fancy auto injector here. First off, I still have FModel up because I need this path. You need the exact same path in Unreal Engine to make the game recognize and know where to put this file. So we select new folder, and so first off, you can ignore Into the Radius 2. It already knows that. So you have the content folder here and the content folder here. This is always here. This is the starting point. So what you need to input is all the folders after the content folder. So for this one, it's ITR2. Now they're made. Everything's awesome. So you made all the folders, the structure is complete, you have the label, you have the packaging settings, everything's peachy. Okay. Then you take the file you just made and you drop it in the same place as the original one. So we are ready to go. And do not mind the U asset. This version of Unreal Engine is smart enough to actually convert it itself. It's a different story with Into the Radius 1, but that's a video for another day. So in this case, as long as you put PNGs for textures or WAVs for audio files, then Unreal Engine is going to convert it into the correct files. Now you press Platforms, Windows, Package Project, and then it's going to ask where to save them. I always choose the same folder as my project folder to keep it nice and organized. Makes it easier. And I just select folder and wait. Now it's done. So that means we can go into our Unreal projects. We're gonna find the mod, go into Windows, mod name, content, packs, and you are gonna see, if you've done everything correctly, that is, you're gonna see 3 files, all named pack chunk, and the number you gave in the chunk ID. If they match, well, that's a pretty good start. So you select them, rename, call them whatever you want, and this is very important. The mod name doesn't matter. You call it exactly whatever you want, but at the end of the file name, you always have to use an underscore capital P. This tells Unreal Engine that this is a patch, so it's gonna load this file last. If you don't, your files are probably not gonna be loaded into the game. Now you made them, everything's peachy, it works, it looks fine. We're very glad. We just copy these 3 files, we locate our mods folder, which is, well, you know where it is, and then I'm just gonna put it in here, and now we go and test it out. See you in a bit. So there it is. Different very colorful versions. Let's put them somewhere we can actually see them a bit better. So we have to, okay, what the fuck is up with the light here? Well, there you have it. I hope you can use this guide. I hope you learn how to mod, because we need more modders, we need more talented people. Into the Radius 2 is, honestly, it's pretty dead right now, but it's a pity because it's in early access. It already has such a huge potential. I mean, I do not doubt for a second that this is gonna be an absolutely amazing game. Just look at the first one. It also had a bit of a rough start as far as I know. And just look at it now. It's truly one of the best VR games ever made. And the same people are now making this one. It's gonna be great. So start making those mods, start making content. Make this game bigger, make it better, make it quirkier, make it funnier, make it whatever it is you want. Trust me on this, no matter how weird it is. Like this one. I never ever download this and use for myself. But I do not doubt for a second that if I upload this, someone's gonna download it and someone's gonna enjoy it and think this is perfect. It is just the thing I need for my unicorn playthrough or whatever. Oh, that sounded a great name for a playthrough. Unicorn Princess. Gonna make the entire mod. Anywho, it has quirks. There's a lot of weird stuff in it. There's sometimes you do everything correctly, it just doesn't work. And then you need to do a lot of troubleshooting to figure it out. But anywho, now I've shown you how to do it. I've shown you how it looks. When it works, it's not that hard. You can figure it out. I hope to see a lot of new modders now, and I hope this video makes sense. If I've forgotten anything, if there's something that doesn't make sense, just write it in the comments. And if everything just works as it should, and you make, come on, stuff like this, please give me a like and subscribe. Makes me happy. And who doesn't like that? So I am gonna change out of this awful uniform. I'm gonna go now. You take care and have a good one. See you guys.